Ladies and gentlemen, every triumph begins with a single thought, just one spark in the mind of an individual who refuses to be overcome by circumstances. The greatest battles ever fought were not on fields or in courts, but within the silent chambers of the mind. Those who master their own thoughts possess a power no man can measure and no force can defeat. I tell you now, the difference between the man who wins and the man who yields is not in physical strength, not in education, not in opportunity. It is in mental power. When the mind is directed with definiteness of purpose, when it is fueled by unwavering belief, it becomes a force that bends the world to its will. You have within you the silent command center of your destiny. You are not the servant of fate, you are the architect of it. But that blueprint of your future must first be drawn in your mind with thoughts that are bold, focused, and aligned with the purpose that sets your soul on fire. Mental power does not come by chance. It is cultivated like a garden, through discipline, persistence, and above all, faith. Faith in the unseen, faith in the idea before it becomes reality, faith in yourself when the world doubts you. That is the kind of mental power that builds empires and reshapes history. There is no obstacle so great it cannot be overcome by a mind that refuses to be dominated. You will face rejection, failure, ridicule, but those are not signs to quit. They are signals to dig deeper, to concentrate your mental power, and to move forward with even greater conviction. When fear whispers lies, mental power speaks truth. When circumstances seem hopeless, mental power reveals possibilities. And when others give in, the mind trained for victory rises, stronger than ever before. The greatest wealth, the truest freedom, the most enduring success, these are born in the invisible realm of thought before they ever take shape in the world. And if you will take command of your mind, you will take command of your life. So I say to you, do not be overcome by doubt, by hardship, by fear. Overcome by mental power, it is already within you. Now is the time to use it. Thoughts are the root of all achievements or failures. Every action, every outcome, every result that we witness in the material world is born first in the invisible realm of thought. The mind is the origin point. Nothing has ever been created, discovered, built, or achieved without first existing in the imagination of a human being. This is the truth upon which all success rests. You cannot shape your future if your thoughts remain scattered, weak, or fearful. But when your thoughts become clear, definite, and saturated with belief, they carry the power to create realities far greater than your current circumstances. A person is no greater than the thoughts they habitually think. You see, the mind is a fertile field. It will grow whatever you plant in it. Plant seeds of confidence, belief, and purpose, and you will reap a harvest of strength and achievement. But if you allow doubt, fear, and failure to take root, those too will bear fruit. The soil makes no distinction. It returns in kind whatever is planted and nourished. Your thoughts, therefore, must be guarded, chosen with intent, and repeated with conviction until they become your second nature. Look around you at the lives of those who rise from humble beginnings to achieve greatness. In every case you will find a common thread, not wealth, not privilege, not talent, but thought. A thought so persistent, so strong, so deeply believed that it refused to be silenced by circumstances. A single dominating idea, held with intensity, has the power to push a person forward when every external voice says stop. It is thought that fuels persistence, and it is persistence that eventually conquers. Failures do not begin with action. They begin with thought. The moment you accept the idea that you are not good enough, not ready, not capable, you begin to retreat from your own potential. The defeat occurs in the mind before it ever manifests in the world. A man who thinks he cannot will not. A woman who believes she is limited becomes limited. This is not fate, it is mental submission. And yet the opposite is also true. When you begin to think in terms of possibility, when you hold firmly to the idea that you can overcome, achieve, and create, you ignite forces that respond in kind. Your mind is constantly broadcasting your beliefs, whether you speak them aloud or not, and the world, in a way most people never understand, bends to meet those beliefs. If your thoughts are of failure, of lack, of inferiority, you will attract experiences that validate those thoughts. But if your mind is fixed on success, if it is steeped in gratitude, vision, and unshakable belief in your mission, then even the harshest circumstances will begin to move in your favor. This is not magic, it is mental law. The dominating thoughts of your mind become the dominating influences of your life. You cannot think fear and expect courage. You cannot think defeat and expect victory. You must first become in thought what you wish to become in reality. And the most remarkable part is that you can choose your thoughts. You can reject the ones that do not serve you. You can replace the ones that bring you down. You are not the victim of your thinking. You are its master. The greatest tragedy is not that people fail, but that they fail because they never believed they could succeed. They waited for the world to give them permission, not realizing that the key to all doors was already in their own minds. Those who win in life do not wait for conditions to be perfect. They begin with thought. They begin with a vision, and they nurture that vision until it becomes the blueprint of their future. A man with a clear, burning desire, backed by definite thought, becomes unstoppable. He does not allow distractions to shake his course. He does not entertain the opinions of those who doubt. His thought is his compass, and he moves with faith that is grounded not in evidence, but in decision. And this is what separates the exceptional from the average, not intelligence, not luck, but the willingness to hold a thought so strongly that the world cannot help but conform to it. Every achievement in history, from the light bulb to the airplane, from the printing press to the skyscraper, began as a thought, an idea that seemed impossible at first. But the men and women who brought these ideas to life were not operating in doubt. Their minds were fixed. Their thoughts were not suggestions. They were commands, and through effort, repetition, and faith, those thoughts were brought into the material world. What you think, you become. And what you become, you project into your work, your relationships, your future. If you desire to change your life, do not start with circumstances. Start with thought. Refuse to entertain defeat. Refuse to dwell in fear. Refuse to accept any belief that shrinks your vision or numbs your desire. Feed your mind daily with thoughts that empower, uplift, and direct you toward your purpose. Your thoughts are not idle. They are the builders of your destiny. If you would rise, think thoughts of greatness. If you would lead, think thoughts of clarity. If you would overcome, think thoughts that never accept limitation. For in the end, the man who governs his thoughts governs his life. The mind, when directed with purpose, becomes the most powerful force. It is not enough to merely think. One must think with intention, with clarity, and with a definite end in view. The undirected mind is like a ship without a rudder. It drifts, swayed by the winds of circumstance and the tides of opinion. But once a purpose is chosen and the mind is aligned with that purpose, it becomes a tool of unimaginable strength. It cuts through distractions, it dissolves obstacles, it calls upon resources, both seen and unseen, and channels them into a single, unwavering direction. You see, there is a vast difference between a wish and a purpose. A wish is vague. It is often spoken but seldom pursued. A purpose is different. It is a command. It is a mental commitment so strong that it takes root in the subconscious mind and influences every decision, every action, every thought that follows. When you direct the mind with such purpose, you unlock power that goes far beyond what most ever realize they possess. The greatest individuals in history, those who built empires, discovered new worlds, cured diseases, or reshaped the course of society, did not achieve what they did by chance. They started with a mental decision, they chose a purpose, and then they directed every ounce of thought and energy toward its fulfillment. Their minds did not wander from that vision. They were not easily distracted, nor were they discouraged by failure. Because a mind anchored in purpose is not moved by temporary defeat, it is fortified by it. When you give your mind a definite direction, you engage a part of yourself that begins to pull ideas, people, opportunities, and energy into your life. Things begin to align. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable because every element of your being begins to work in harmony with the goal. Your emotions become your allies, your actions gain urgency. Your speech reflects conviction, and even when fatigue sets in or the world offers resistance, your mind continues to guide you forward because it knows where it is going. This level of mental power does not happen by accident. It comes through decision, and it is strengthened by discipline. You must guard your mind like a fortress. You must feed it only that which supports your purpose and refuse entrance to anything that contradicts or weakens it. You must eliminate distractions, not only of the body but of the mind, doubts, fears, and wandering desires that pull you away from your chosen path. People often ask why some succeed while others do not. The answer lies in mental direction. The successful individual does not think aimlessly. He does not allow his thoughts to follow every passing trend or opinion. He chooses his destination, and then he disciplines his mind to think only in alignment with that destination. His mind becomes a servant of his purpose, and in doing so, it becomes a force of nature. Let it be known that the human mind, when focused, is greater than any circumstance. It is greater than lack of resources, greater than failure, greater than opposition. History is filled with men and women who had nothing, no money, no connections, no support, but they had a mind trained by purpose, and with that, they carved their names into the pages of time. You are no different. You possess the same mental faculties, but those faculties must be directed. You must choose your purpose with care, and then dedicate yourself to it with the full power of your mind. Do not let the noise of the world distract you. Do not let the doubts of others slow your progress. The mind, when directed with purpose, silences all of that. It remains fixed, like a lighthouse in a storm, always pointing the way. Every day, the world presents you with countless options for how to think, where to focus, and what to pursue. But only the individual who has chosen a definite purpose will know what to accept and what to reject. Purpose becomes the filter of the mind, the force that decides what stays and what goes. And as the mind becomes more focused, it becomes more powerful. Remember, power is not found in motion without direction. A storm can blow without aim and cause destruction, but a laser, narrow, focused, and directed, can cut through steel. Your mind is that laser when it is linked to a definite aim. And it is this focused power, born of purpose, that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. Do not take lightly the ability to direct your thoughts. It is the first and final step to personal mastery. The mind will either serve your fears or it will serve your purpose, but it will serve. And when you command it with conviction, when you align it with a purpose so strong it cannot be ignored, you awaken a force that will carry you through every trial, over every mountain, and into the very life you were meant to live. Definiteness of purpose fuels mental resilience. Without a clear and definite aim, the mind becomes vulnerable to confusion, doubt, and distraction. But once a person decides, truly decides, on a chief purpose, that decision acts as a foundation upon which resilience is built. Life will test you. It will throw hardship, rejection, and delay in your path. But when you know exactly what you are moving toward, when your purpose is definite and fixed, nothing can shake you from the path. You may bend, but you will not break. A person without a definite purpose is like a leaf in the wind, moving in whichever direction the breeze blows. They change course with every opinion, abandon goals at the first sign of difficulty, and allow temporary discomfort to rewrite the narrative of their life. They mistake activity for progress and wonder why their efforts yield no lasting reward. But the individual who has defined their purpose with clarity and depth does not sway with the wind. They build roots. They develop the mental strength to stand firm in the face of resistance because they know why they began, and they know what they are after. Mental resilience is not something you are born with, it is something you build, and it is built through the act of choosing a definite purpose and recommitting to it every single day. When your goal is vague, your energy is scattered. But when your purpose is clear, your energy becomes concentrated, and this concentration of mental effort gives rise to power. When setbacks occur, they do not feel final. They feel like part of the path. You do not crumble under failure, because failure becomes nothing more than feedback evidence that you are still in motion. Most people give up not because they are weak, but because they lack clarity. Without a definite purpose, pain has no meaning, and delay feels like defeat. But the man or woman who has burned their goal into their mind can endure far more than they imagined, because every challenge becomes a step in the journey, not an interruption. This is the secret to resilience, having a purpose so compelling that no obstacle is worth surrendering it. Think of the mind as an engine. When fueled by confusion, it sputters and stops. But when fueled by definiteness of purpose, it gains momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Confidence, in turn, strengthens mental endurance, and so you find that all forward motion begins with decision. One decision, made with clarity and conviction, can transform an ordinary person into an unstoppable force. You cannot be resilient in the face of trials if you are uncertain of your destination. But once you choose, once you declare with certainty what you are working toward, your mind begins to adapt. It becomes less reactive and more strategic. It stops fearing temporary losses and starts focusing on long-term gains. There is no substitute for this. No amount of external motivation can replace the inner fire created by a clear, personal mission. No mentor, no book, no speech can give you what your own decision can direction. And direction is the birth of strength. When you no longer question whether or not you should continue, you free your mind from the noise of indecision. And this freedom creates space for persistence to thrive. This is mental resilience, the ability to keep going, not because it is easy, but because you know where you're going and why it matters. The mind, when untrained, seeks comfort. It will look for the easy way out when the road becomes steep. But the mind directed by purpose knows that the discomfort is temporary and that the reward is lasting, and so it endures. It strengthens itself through trial. It does not collapse when ignored, rejected, or delayed. Instead, it becomes more focused, more determined. The temporary loss becomes a lesson. The delay becomes a sharpening of character, and the goal becomes not just something to achieve, but something to become. This is how all great achievements are built, on the back of resilience born from purpose. The great builder, the innovator, the trailblazer, they all began with one thing, a decision. And that decision, held firm in the face of storms, gave them the power to persist long after others gave in. You may not control the obstacles you face, but you control the strength of your purpose, and that strength will determine your resilience. Definiteness of purpose gives you a reason to endure. It gives your mind something to hold on to when the world feels uncertain. It turns adversity into an ally. And when you hold that purpose in your mind with unwavering faith, your resilience becomes more than a reaction. It becomes a habit, the habit of pushing forward, the habit of rising when you fall, the habit of finishing what you started, no matter how long the journey. So let it be clear, your strength will not come from ease, it will come from clarity, and your clarity will become the very fire that powers your mental resilience through every trial you face. Faith and belief in oneself are the foundation of mental strength. No person can rise above the level of their own belief. You may possess talent, skill, and opportunity, but if you do not believe in your ability to use them, they remain dormant, an realized potential buried beneath doubt. Faith is the invisible force that activates every other power you hold. It is the first step before effort, the root of persistence, the anchor in times of difficulty. Without it, the mind falters. With it, the mind becomes invincible. When you believe in yourself, your mind operates on a different frequency. It stops looking for reasons to retreat and begins searching for ways to advance. Obstacles are no longer signs to turn back. They are signals to grow. You begin to see challenges not as enemies, but as necessary teachers. And that shift in perception is made possible by faith. It is not blind, it is not naive, it is deliberate. It is a choice to see yourself not as you currently are, but as you are capable of becoming. Most people underestimate the power of belief because it is invisible, intangible. But make no mistake, it is belief that shapes destiny. Every person who has ever accomplished something of greatness first had to confront the same question: am I capable? And the answer they gave, silently, often in solitude, determined the path ahead. If they answered no, they never began. If they answered yes, they proceeded, even when the evidence wasn't there, even when others doubted them, even when nothing around them seemed to support the vision they carried inside. This is what mental strength is built upon, the decision to trust yourself when it is hardest to do so. When no applause is given, when no support is offered, when failure seems more real than success, it is in those moments that belief is tested, and it is in those moments that belief must remain. Not just belief in the goal, but belief in your capacity to reach it. You must train your mind to speak with conviction when the world speaks with doubt. You must choose faith over fear again and again until it becomes a habit, and belief is not merely a thought, it is a force that compels action. When you believe you can, you begin to act differently. You carry yourself with intention. You speak with more authority. You dare to take risks that others avoid, and these actions, repeated over time, build confidence. Confidence strengthens belief. Belief fuels more action, and the cycle continues, lifting you higher with each turn. The tragedy is that many never begin this cycle because they wait for proof before believing. They wait for the world to confirm their worth, but the truth is this: the world responds to your belief. It does not create it. Others will not believe in you until you do. Circumstances will not change until your inner state changes first. Belief is not a response, it is the cause, and when you understand this, you stop waiting. You start creating. You do not need to have all the answers to begin. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to believe that you can become what you are meant to become. That single belief will begin to rearrange your mind, your habits, your direction. And that rearrangement is the beginning of all transformation. Faith in oneself must be cultivated like a discipline. It must be fed daily through thought, word, and action. You must remind yourself, often in silence, that you are capable, that you are worthy, that you are enough. Not because the world says so, but because you have decided it is so. This inner decision is more powerful than any external approval. It builds a kind of mental armor that protects you from the noise of the world, and with that armor you can move forward boldly, regardless of the terrain. All men and women who have built something meaningful have done so on the foundation of self-belief. Their beginnings were not marked by applause, but by silence, by the quiet decision to have faith. It is that decision, more than any circumstance, that determines the strength of the mind. For when belief is strong, discipline follows. When belief is strong, courage rises. When belief is strong, excuses disappear. So if you would strengthen your mind, begin here. Choose faith, not because it is easy, not because everything is certain, but because belief is the one thing no one can give you and no one can take away. It is yours to claim, yours to protect, and yours to live by. And the moment you do, you unlock the mental strength that has been waiting within you all along. The power of repetition and self-suggestion is one of the greatest tools ever given to mankind. The thoughts you consistently dwell on, the words you repeatedly speak to yourself, these shape your identity, influence your behavior, and ultimately determine your destiny. The mind, like fertile soil, does not care what seeds you plant. It will return in abundance whatever you feed it most, whether that be faith or fear, confidence or doubt, success or failure, and it is through repetition that these thoughts take root and grow into reality. You cannot expect your mind to deliver strength if you continually feed it weakness. You cannot ask for faith if you dwell in fear. The mind learns through repetition. What you impress upon it consistently, it will begin to believe, regardless of whether it is truth or falsehood. That is why self-suggestion, conscious, intentional repetition of empowering thoughts, is the secret to shaping the mental environment in your favor, The great men and women of achievement did not rise by accident. They trained their thoughts like a master trains a skilled horse, through constant direction, patience, and practice. They spoke to themselves words of conviction, of power, of certainty, long before the world believed in them. Every time you repeat a thought, you strengthen a mental pathway. Think of it like a trail in a forest. The more it is walked, the clearer and easier the path becomes. The same happens in your brain when you say, "I am capable," "I am disciplined," "I am resilient." You are not merely speaking empty phrases. You are constructing belief, carving out a mental road that your mind will begin to travel without resistance, and in time this belief becomes automatic. You stop needing to force the thought because it has become a part of your identity. Most people unknowingly sabotage themselves through the repetition of negative thoughts. "I can't do this," "I'm not good enough," "It's too late for me." These phrases, when repeated, become commands to the subconscious mind. The mind does not argue, it obeys, and if you repeat the language of limitation, the mind will deliver a life of limitation. But when you become aware, when you take command and replace the destructive with the construct, everything begins to shift. Self-suggestion is the tool of reprogramming. It is how you interrupt the pattern of failure and replace it with the habit of triumph. But understand this, repetition must be combined with emotion. You cannot speak words of strength while feeling weak and expect transformation. You must feel what you speak. You must declare your affirmations not as a question, but as a truth. Speak them with energy, with emotion, with the belief that they are already becoming real. That emotional intensity impresses the idea deeper into the subconscious mind and accelerates its adoption. Repetition is not glamorous. It is not thrilling. It is daily, disciplined, and often invisible. But it is the quiet architect of all lasting change. If you repeat a thing long enough, you will believe it. And once you believe it, you will begin to act in accordance with it. And as your actions change, so does your life. You must become the master of your inner language. Begin your days with the repetition of truth. End your nights by feeding your mind with the picture of the person you are becoming. Throughout the day, catch the negative thoughts as they arise, and immediately replace them with empowering ones. This is not self-deception. It is self-direction. It is the deliberate act of choosing the thoughts that serve you and discarding the ones that do not. All success begins in the mind. Before any goal is reached in the world, it must first be planted, nurtured, and believed in the mind. Self-suggestion and repetition are the tools that allow this belief to take form and grow strong. They are the builders of confidence, the destroyers of doubt, the silent companions of every person who rises from nothing to something. Do not underestimate the power of a single repeated phrase. Empires have been built on belief, mountains have been moved by faith, and lives have been transformed by nothing more than the daily repetition of a new idea. If you would change your life, begin by changing your inner language. Repeat what you wish to become until your mind has no choice but to accept it as reality. And from that acceptance, new strength will arise, and with it, a new life.